remember one day realizing something that shocked me. I would wake up in the morning and I'd have, quiet time before I went to work, and I'd be drinking coffee and reading the newspaper, and I wasn't there. Where was I? I was at work. I was in fictitious meetings. That, by the way, never happened. And my boss would ask me a question, and I'd come up with a brilliant answer, and I would play this out in my mind because I was thinking about the past and the future. And I realized the vast majority of my day, my body would be right here, my life would be right here, and I was here, or I was here. It was like a light bulb went on. In some part of your lifetime, there's a point where you say, there has to be more to life than what I'm experiencing here. And that's the very moment you start to look for more. The reason you're in this body is to experience that ongoing, that underlying reality of everything. You, not to think about it, not to read about it, but to actually move into a direct experience of it. It's the same thing with peace and stillness. Taste it, experience it. Stop grinding and thinking on it. You can think about it, and then you're gonna die. Or you can say, how do I bathe in peace and absolute pristine stillness forever? How do I do that? And how do I do it soon? That's your choice.
It wasn't far from here, actually, quite a few years ago, that I was skiing with a bunch of mates back country. It was a beautiful day. We were skiing down a slope. It was just this horrendous explosion. We got caught in an avalanche, and next thing I'm under. The surprising thing was that when I went under, I just had this overwhelming sense of peace. I was aware that I was under the snow, that I was trapped, I couldn't breathe, my legs couldn't move, my arms couldn't move, but there was absolutely no panic. It was like this awareness of this endless ocean of peace and stillness. God knows how long I was in there for, but at some point I was thrust out as if I was on the leading edge of this avalanche. And it was then that the panic kicked in, because I was just trying to suck as much oxygen in as I could, you know. The fear that I'd go back in and the possibility that I could die, just that really cranked up the panic. And I went back under, and after a short time I was thrust out again, and the avalanche had come to an abrupt halt. When I got out, fortunately, everyone else was out as well. When we regrouped, I thought, Man, you know, that was an amazing experience of extended silence and peace. If I could experience that under the snow, surely I could have it in my day-to-day life. And I thought, the only way I think practically I can ever do this is to make a lot of money, make it quickly, retire early, and head to a beach. I made a choice. So I did. I cranked it up. I was already in business, but I moved it up to the next level. But what I actually found was that I was moving further away from what I was after. I started to experience more worry, more stress, more frustration. I developed a habit of insomnia at night. And I looked in the mirror and just, was like, mate, what are you doing? You know, you look so unhappy. And I thought, I've got to change this. I've got to change my paradigm, if you like. But life just kept throwing big things at me. My wife and I separated. Not that much later, I was diagnosed with a tumour inside my head that required 6 weeks of radiotherapy. And there was just an ongoing series of events, as if they were trying to wake me up, sort of get on with it, get on with the job.
Toda mi familia ha sido luchadora, revolucionaria. Incluso mi familia que venía de Italia fueron los primeros que hicieron una huelga importante en Latinoamérica. No lo sabía, pero en mi sangre vibraba mucho la revolución. Cuando conocí a los zapatistas en 1994, los conocí porque en ese entonces cantaba. Lo que vi en ellos, lo que vi en los zapatistas fue una posibilidad de cambiar el mundo. Lo que más sí, por supuesto, me llamó de ellos fue el corazón. Por supuesto que también la lucha y las armas era algo que me llamaba, pues, ¿no? Y sin embargo, no del todo aunque hubo la propuesta, no me hice guerrillera porque yo sabía que había una posibilidad de ayudar fuera de otra manera. Lo que más me impactó al estar ahí, por supuesto, en las comunidades zapatistas, era ver las condiciones de hambruna en la que vivían. Los niños, sobre todo, y que la muerte era algo muy cotidiano. Entonces, cuando sentí que todavía faltaba algo más, fue cuando me fui en mi búsqueda por la herramienta, por el arma más poderosa. A los 2 días recibí un correo de los Ishayas y haciéndome una invitación para la maestría del ser. Y lloraba, lloraba porque en realidad no sabía qué hacer, si dejar la revolución o irme y tomar esta decisión valiente, la más valiente. Y dije que sí, apreté el botón y puse yes, pum. Vámonos, vámonos a ver qué hay, a ver qué encuentro con los Ishayas. Y bueno, preparé mis maletas. Todavía le escribí una carta al subcomandante Marcos. Y que lo que recibí de él fue, haz todo lo que tengas que hacer para ser feliz.
I was 15. Up until that moment, I didn't know that another kind of life or another kind of reality existed. Because I was coming from a beautiful love bubble. My dad, my friends, I mean, it was beautiful. I was just about to go to high school with some friends that stayed overnight in my house. And a few guys with guns came into my house and tried to kidnap me. I was able to run away and I was able to hide from the kidnappers. And in the middle of that, my dad, also the gardener, and my grandfather tried to defend me. They were shooting and, of course, killing. I was able to see everything from a distance and from the window. And I just heard, like, on the background, a truck, like, spinning the wheel, like, you know? So I just ran back to the place that all the fighting was happening. I saw the gardener gone. It was an impactful experience when you see that the body's there, but there's no one there. And then I saw my dad in the stairs, still moving. He was still alive. But he wasn't able to talk because the bullets went through his lungs when I looked into his eyes. But that was one of the most amazing experiences I ever had. It's just so much depth, wisdom, love, service, giving, purpose. It was strange in the middle of so much darkness. It was like he was telling me a lot of things through the eyes. It was like a mental connection. Like I could hear everything, like everything. And then suddenly he died in my arm. The feeling of purpose, the feeling of destiny, the feeling of love, the feeling of consciousness, really. I mean, that was even 1,000,000 times stronger than the experience of death. That was more shocking because I was like, how come I can see this potential love or destiny or divine destiny, actually, like I just put that word, divine destiny, be stronger than the passing away of a loved one. And that just stuck me in my head all my life. It's like, what's that?
Bueno, mi nombre es Maribel Berenguer y mi papel aquí en la Academia, en la Escuela Nacional de Ballet, es profesora de ballet. Sí, pienso que están súper abiertos. Además que el tipo de vida del cubano les acompaña a meditar. O sea, la meditación les sirve muchísimo para aquietarse cada vez más, para ir al interior, para dejar de buscar afuera las cosas que no tienen en este momento. En Cuba hay muchas necesidades económicas y al entrar la meditación a su vida es como que esa búsqueda afuera comienza a aquietarse, comienza a relajarse y siento que han tenido la gente la oportunidad de abrirse y de liberarse. Acerca de cómo funcionó la ascensión para mí en la enseñanza del ballet específicamente. Yo empecé como a expresarles a ellos la necesidad de disfrutar cada momento, porque esta enseñanza es muy dolorosa y muy sufrida y sacrificada. Entonces ellos empezaron como a disfrutar de todo lo que estaba ocurriendo, empezaron a bailar con esas ansias que deseaban desde que nacieron o desde que empezaron a bailar la primera pieza, y se empezó a ver cómo la diferencia entre los alumnos que estaban enseñándose de esa manera y los que no, en esa libertad de movimiento, en esa libertad de absorber toda la información que el maestro le decía.
There's a place within us, this still silent place, which never comes and goes. It's permanent. And you can call that God, you can call that light, you can call that truth, you can call it the underlying reality of everything. But there's one thing that exists. And to move into that as an experience from a concept, you need to dissolve a sense of an individual intelligence, an individual me, through just bathing in this sea of silence that's within us. The sea of peace and the sea of silence has been there forever. Some of us know it or have known it as a child. We've been able to touch that place and it felt like home. It's always been. And in fact, it's the only thing in our existence that's always been there.
It was the late 80s, start of the 90s. And it was the big upsurge of the ecstasy nation in like the UK. There was raves everywhere. It was the generation thing to do. Almost everybody was into it. Yeah, using the drugs, the partying, the whole experience of that time in my life was giving everybody this sense of connection. Everybody seemed to drop all of their judgments, all of their differences. It was amazing. It was so much different to being just drunk. And the whole movement, the whole generation was just into dancing and just loving each other. It went kind of off the rails, you could say. I ended up getting into a lot of trouble with the law. I'm looking at a rather large prison sentence. And my dad came to see me while I was on remand and said, are you due to get out? And I said, no. And he said, good. He said, it's the best place you could be. He was over the moon. That as bad as it could have looked for me, I wasn't going to die. The wake-up call for me from that way of life was when I was about 25. I'd had a son. And so I decided that way of life wasn't going to work because I understood the responsibilities of raising a child. I quit everything and I decided to work full-time and get back into a normal life as far as what I could remember one was. But it never really seemed enough for me. It felt like a poor excuse for being really happy. I decided that I really needed to experience that fullness, that connectedness, that same experience, but I knew I couldn't do it through drugs. So I looked into the success of rehabilitation and therapy, and it turned out that the rehabilitation unit I was in had been going for like 10 years, and the success rate was 2% of all the people who came through. What I found amazing was the statistics for people who don't bother going through rehabilitation, for them who do it are 2%. What became really apparent was that the change only happens at the point when you are sick enough of the behaviour that you're doing, which is causing you the problems. I don't know how I was going to do it, but that choice in and of itself made so many other things available to me. It just immediately changed my whole take on my whole life.
Got a good woman for my soul, got whiskey for my sin. Pray I got both when I leave this bar in a car or a coffin. And I'll ride this road till it takes me home, or I'll ride this dirty road till I die.
In Mexico, teachers like Madavi are introducing a new phase of rehabilitation, teaching ascension in prisons to those who are ready to embrace change.
There ain't one way to sing a song.
And the cool thing is that 25% of the people in this facility, which houses just under 2,000 prisoners, meditate. Because it's something that's not being done very often around the world. So we appreciate your openness to introduce this program into the prison.
My He'd have worn my lungs are hard and my heart's as cold as steel.
La verdad de las cosas que aquí en el Cerezo de Apodaca, cuando yo llegué, nos encontrábamos en una crisis de seguridad muy complicada. Y a base, bueno, de todos los programas de reinserción y el apoyo de la ascensión, nos hemos visto favorecidos. Ahorita el interno se encuentra pacífico y se ve en su rostro, en su personalidad, se ven todos esos logros. En el exterior han sido más humanos. Y bueno, es por voluntad propia, no se los imponemos, es voluntad, y ha sido muy bueno al interior porque todo esto lo van reflejando con los compañeros y cada día más se integran más compañeros de los mismos internos a recibir este tipo de técnicas.
En orden, ya saben las indicaciones.
Sí, señor.
¿Grado?
Sí, señor.
Abra las sendas, por favor.
He querido llevar esta enseñanza a las prisiones porque sé que son lugares donde hay mucho dolor, mucha tristeza. Y a través de una gran amiga que un día me invitó a enseñar a una prisión, descubrí la belleza de encontrar en el interior de cada persona esa divinidad, no importa dónde estén. Cuando yo llegué por primera vez a una cárcel y tuve el primer contacto con el corazón de uno de los presos, dije, su corazón está sufriendo y quieren encontrar paz. Entonces empecé a enseñar en las cárceles. En un momento vamos a cerrar nuestros ojos y a observar el movimiento de nuestra mente. Vamos a observar los pensamientos que fluyen a través de nuestra mente. Así que cierren sus ojos, por favor, y empiecen a observar su mente. Y descansen. La energía, lo que sucedió ahí fue una cosa extraordinaria, porque cada uno de los muchachos tuvo la oportunidad de conectar con esta parte profunda, silenciosa y quieta de sí mismo, y cuando lo hicimos todos juntos, fue una energía fabulosa. ¿Quién va a seguir ascendiendo? Levanten la mano. ¿Quién sí va a seguir ascendiendo? Levanten la mano para que yo los vea.
After my dad died, started drinking drugs all day, every day, for months and months and years, non-stop. And I was looking for the experience I experienced when my dad died. And nothing gave me that, nothing. So I would just keep on looking, where is that, where is that, where is that? And I remember once I was in my house, alone in my father's bedroom. And I remember just crying. I couldn't handle it anymore. A friend of mine called me and she's like, Magavat, there's a meditation course this weekend. Why don't you come with us? And I'm like, okay, I'll go. There's nothing to lose. When I arrived, I saw the teachers. And their presence, they had something that I never experienced before. Slowly they started to explain the meditation, the Shaya's ascension. I'm like, what's this? I'm a Harjali. As soon as they started to explain the game, everything started to become really clear within myself. I just knew that I found what I was looking for. Immediately I started to experience clear silence, awareness. As soon as I started to play with what the teachers were telling me, like I knew I needed to actually let go of the seeking. I actually needed to let go of that idea of searching. That's worth everything. There's a lot of ideas about spiritual journeys or meditation. One is like, let's put the mind in blank or have no thoughts, have no emotions. And that's not true. We are not going against what the natural flows of life are. There are emotions, of course there's emotions, but I'm not caught in them. I don't make a story around them. I don't make them personal. I just watch them by. The same as thoughts. They don't take all my attention. They're just part of the whole experience. Then, of course, if I live like that, automatically there's peace. Automatically.
I remember when I first learned to meditate, the realization of what I'd been doing. I was quite shocked because actually the point at which I learned to meditate, I was grinding my teeth, breaking teeth at night. I never woke up feeling refreshed. I was exhausted. 2 relatively young children, trying to be the perfect mother, the perfect housewife, the perfect neighbor, the perfect teacher, the perfect everything, you know. And I used to describe the experience as meeting myself coming back, you know, going round in ever-decreasing circles. I was exhausted. Once I heard the explanation and the background for what meditation is, because really this is the area that meditation addresses, we're living all the time in the past. I recognized how many times I rehashed conversations with people to try and get it right. It's like madness, isn't it? For the last 12, 13 years, I've had cancer. It started as breast cancer. I've had treatment, it's slowly developed, and I now have secondaries in the liver and in my spine. And yet, thanks very much to the meditation skills that I've learned, just being able to accept everything, even something as extreme and challenging as that, has enabled me just to be fully present now. Back to this moment again and again. Really, it's a very simple thing, meditation. It just allows you to live open and allowing in this moment. That has been absolutely key to my being able to live joyfully and peacefully no matter what's happening to the body. You know, my body's going to do what it's going to do. I can take a lot of actions, a lot of strategies to assist it, but ultimately, I'm not in control. And a lot of what we call stress is because we think we're in control and we think we know what's going to happen, and it doesn't, and we find that distressing or frustrating or annoying or painful or whatever because we're resisting what is.
Judgment day shall come.
Slowly but surely was starting to experience a bit of respite from the stress. I worked less. I actually developed a new relationship, and I found I recreated the same dynamic I had in my marriage where I was just so judgmental. The relationship failed. And I was overwhelmed with a sense of loss, you know, bitching and moaning all the way through it. But once she's gone, the whiny voice in my head couldn't deal with it. I got to see that I need some way to let go of that judgment and let people be who they are, rather than me trying to control or want them to be something different. That was the major catalyst for me to commit to myself 100%. Just to go for that peace, go for that internal love. I had to establish that before I was able to get close to having a relationship again.
I was stressed. I always seemed to be in this fight or flight mode, looking for the next thing to go wrong, trying to control everything in my life. And I didn't want to do it anymore, but I didn't know what to do, really. The great thing, too, about going out with Greg was that showed me how dysfunctional I was in a relationship, and I wanted that to change. Like I did, I saw that I was very close to love. I was very afraid of love. I suppose my little subconscious mantra was that love hurts. Don't let someone get too close to you, because you might lose them, or it'll just hurt if they reject you. And I got to understand that came from my brother dying when I was 9 or 10 years old. And that 1 minute I'm this happy kid who's living in a kind of a fantasy world, still feeling that connection to everything. And then suddenly it was like life was tipped upside down. It's like, whoa, life isn't safe.
If, for example, you could think of a real wonderful moment in your life, do you remember it? Do you remember how little self-absorption there was in that moment? Do you remember how perfectly it unfolded? That even in retrospect, everything played out in that most wonderful moment in the most miraculous kind of way? That there was nothing about the moment we would change. It was ideal. We very often weren't even responsible for the moment. We were just able to experience the moment. We were present for the unfoldment of that moment. And do you remember how alive that moment was? How alive you felt in that moment? And I will suggest to you, that moment was the most alive moment of your life. And I will say to you, with the exception of the intensity of your most wonderful moment, you're meant to live that kind of life. That alive, with just an absolute sense of wonder and awe. That is your right to live that kind of life continuously. And we don't, we just forgot.
From American dance bands to rock and roll to mariachi. I was a seeker from the time I was a young girl, very young. I learned how to meditate when I was in college and really had my first tastes of stillness, had my first tastes of the voices quieting down. And of course, once that happens, you want more. And the way most of us got more during that era was to smoke or take psychedelics or anything that we could do to duplicate that experience. Occasionally, I felt like I got lucky. It was grace. But in terms of having that stillness permeate my life, that wasn't happening. I knew it was there, but it always seemed just out of reach. We came to San Miguel, and I couldn't believe it. I was given a tool that allowed me to sustain that state with no drugs. And it happened very, very quickly, which was the unexpected part. I thought I was going to kind of get back into the drudgery of meditation and have some support to do that. But all of a sudden, it was accessible. And the thing that really was different with this particular practice was that it was something that I could do with my eyes open as well as my eyes closed. It had a huge effect on me creatively because it was hit and miss when I was working, when I was writing, sometimes I'd be listening to the voices in my head, which is never a good thing to do. I mean, the voices in my head, I don't think the voices in any of our heads are ever saying kind things. They're always saying really mean things. I once said to somebody, if I sat in a restaurant next to a couple who were talking to each other the way my mind talks to me, I would get up and leave the restaurant. When you're creating, you want to be in that flow. That's the whole goal. That's why you do it, because that's the rush, that's the fun. But the minute those voices start, they just pull you out. So all of a sudden, here I was. I had a tool that allowed me to return to that flow so that I could look at the page after I'd been working and go, wow, where did that come from? What a surprise. That is so amazing. And know with every inch of my being that I didn't do it. And that's gold. That is just gold. The practice allowed me to return to the state, which is only presence. I mean, it's not what I thought. Especially after so many years of belief practice on top of belief on top of belief, I was waiting for Thus Spake Zarathustra. I was waiting for John Philip Sousa and fireworks in the sky, and it wasn't about that. It was just about being so fully present that I was here. It changed everything. It had a huge effect on every aspect of my life.
He says, watch your back, you'll get lost out there. There's a million ways to go, and we don't know our way back home.
I've definitely seen a core belief that relates to addiction, and it is definitely the core belief that I am not good enough.
And we don't know our way back home.
The differences in my life now are they're just amazing. And it's funny because I don't feel that far away from who I actually was. I just feel the only problem there ever was that non-acceptance, that I am not good enough. And to step out and make the decision to go and actually make the new choice and to gain some awareness on who you are, why you are, what you are, is priceless. My son is 20 now, and he's an amazing guy. We have an amazing relationship. We're just the best of friends. He's had choices to go out with his friends, he's had choices to take drugs, he's had choices to do all the things that all kids do, and I've never taken any of those choices away from him. So his general state of natural peace was never really been questioned. And so he makes good choices. We have a really cool relationship. Yeah.
And he says, watch your back, you'll get lost out there. There's a million ways to go, and we don't know our way back home. Go.
Another very key thing, particularly with critical life diagnoses, is that, you face your mortality, maybe for the first time. It does become very obvious that our well-being is created very much by what we put our attention on, and that we have choice. It's empowering, it's exciting. And I can choose what I put my attention on. And that's not about denial. I will do what my body says it needs. That may be going to bed. It may be going to have a massage. It may be going back to the consultant. I mean, who knows, It's not about denial. But it's about knowing that there's so much more. What's going to happen is going to happen. And there's an ease and a fluidity with just accepting everything. Once you recognize that you want something more, it comes. It just comes. I really do believe that.
En esa referencia ejemplar de países que luchan estaba Cuba. A Cuba fui en 1997 y donde vi por primera vez a Fidel Castro, que me enamoró así. Hay una característica primordial que tienen los cubanos y es la inocencia. La apertura de su corazón y la forma en cómo ellos atesoran lo nuevo. Sí, eso marcó mucho, o es algo que puedes distinguir mucho en los cubanos. Inocencia, pasión, y completamente estaban ávidos de esa paz. Y una posibilidad efectiva de servir. Fue una de las cosas también maravillosas que descubrí a través de los Seychelles. La posibilidad efectiva de servir. Y sí, como maestra de ascensión o como servidora de esta enseñanza, me encantó corroborar que no hay obstáculo. No hay absolutamente ningún obstáculo. Los obstáculos vienen de aquí y se desmoronan en el momento que no te identifiques con ellos. Sí, dejan de tener total poder. Entonces, eso fue un gran regalo que me dio poder servir a Cuba. El segundo regalo, el más grande, el cesar la lucha en mí. Todavía incluso en algunos momentos mi sangre vibraba en querer otra vez agarrar las armas de toda la vida, en querer luchar o ver, ¿no?, cómo íbamos a combatir. Pero un buen día, en uno de esos tantos viajes que hice a Cuba, solté todo porque me di cuenta que la paz emerge cuando uno deja de luchar. Cuando dejas de luchar, cuando te das cuenta de que hay una parte de ti que quiere luchar, la paz no va a poder ser una realidad. Cuando dejas absolutamente esa idea, la paz emerge.
Cuando haciendo bailar es una sensación fascinante, ya que es como si estuviera en otra dimensión, en otro nivel, pero a la vez estuviera muy viva, muy presente. Estoy en el escenario y lo siento todo, veo todo lo que está a mi alrededor, pero a la vez no veo nada, porque es como si todo tomara magia, como si fuera otro lugar en el que estoy yo y está el público. Pero la conexión que existe entre nosotras es tan cercana que no es como bailar para un público o bailar para personas que no conozco, es como si los conociera de toda una vida. Es una sensación que no se compara con nada. Que ojalá y todos los que bailaran pudieran llegar a estar en ese mundo, en ese nivel, en ese, no sé, lugar mágico, que es cuando uno baila y haciendo a la vez.
Y han visto muchísimos resultados técnicos, han visto cambios, se han logrado muchísimas medallas este año en el evento internacional de ballet y fue maravilloso. En mi experiencia, todas las personas que están meditando alrededor mío empiezan a alinearse con lo que deben hacer en cada momento para irles mejor en la vida, ¿no? Bueno, la verdad que en Cuba se ha visto muchos resultados, se ha visto como masivamente se quieren apoyar para ir cada vez más adentro. Por ende, se está viendo un cambio también interno en la gente. Me parece que la gente está buscando pero no con revolución, sino desde un lugar que cambie y se mantenga.
Authentic path, of which there are very, very few in the world, are those that lead ultimately to oneness, to an unbroken awareness of silence, which is the gateway to enlightenment, the gateway to freedom. I was one of those guys that said, I don't have time to heal me. You know, there's a world's in a dilemma here. Let's get on with helping others. You know, let's heal the world. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, you know, that you have to do the inner work yourself. And it basically comes down to two paths. One path is the path of comfort, and it's the path that most humans are on. And it's a path that, if you're looking at a mountain and climbing to the top of the mountain to experience oneness, it's a windy path up this mountain, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's not that it's a bad path, it's just a very long path. There's another path, and it's like walking straight up the side of Mount Everest. And it's called the path of the sages in some traditions. It's also known as the path of heroes. It's the path that says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to wake up. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Let's do it. Let's bring it on. I want to experience everything. I want to experience wholeness, completeness. The path of comfort, ironically, is not a comfortable path. It's the funniest thing. It's called the path of comfort, not because it's comfortable, because most of humanity's on it and they're not comfortable. It's called the path of comfort because the decisions we make on that path are decisions that we're comfortable with. They don't push us, they don't stretch us. And so it's a comfortable path. But there's no growth in that path. That's why the growth is so slow. There's a point where you say, there has to be more to life than what I'm experiencing here. And that's the very moment that you're very blessed because you start to look for more. And when you do, very quickly, if you have passion towards that, you start to move towards the path of heroes.
It's amazing. Thanks.
I had the opportunity to teach, 200 prisoners. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, why would you even listen to a 22-year-old? And everybody was like, yeah, actually, why? And the first thing that came to my mouth was, probably because one of the persons that actually tried to kidnap me and kill my dad probably might be sitting here in this room. And everybody just like, whoop. Not easy. And they pay attention. And I share with them what I went through, what have I discovered, and why am I doing what I'm doing right now to help people to find peace, no matter the background. When I think about my dad and that experience, the greatest gift that experience gave me was to look for something that would give me peace. And probably now I feel my dad closer than when I was a kid and I wasn't conscious. It's tricky to say because I don't experience my dad as a human being with a body, with a mind, with a personality. I experience my dad everywhere all the time. As love, as presence, in many, many occasions.
As improbable as it was that I was going to find peace I was in a cafe and there was a brochure on the wall that was promoting a meditation course. And the brochure said, Ascension as taught by the Ashayas of the Bright Path. And I thought, mate, what the hell is this, you know? It's wacky, but what they were saying resonated with me. It resonated with me with the experience I'd had in the avalanche. And it resonated with me that I realised I needed to find that peace and love within me. The first thing they asked was, what's the one thing that you want more than absolutely anything in life? No one had ever asked me that question, but it was obvious. I wanted peace. I wanted unbroken peace. I wanted to experience love within myself and the ability to love someone else unconditionally. And I wanted to be happy, not just moments of happiness, but I wanted it all the time. And the surprising thing for me was that all the other participants wanted exactly the same thing. The beautiful thing was that all the negative aspects of my life fell away. I was sleeping much better. My frustration and my stress fell away very quickly. And I was able to use these techniques with my eyes open. I'd been given a tool that allowed me to disengage the chatter in my head and reveal peace. And I knew that I was onto the right thing.
Greg suggested that I learn some meditation techniques. Meditation wasn't something I did. I thought it was for hippies and not for me. And I thought, well, there's nothing to lose. I might as well go along and see what this is about. What I found was that I'd been looking for all those wonderful things in life in the wrong places. You know, the person I'm with should make me happy. My job should make me happy. You know, I didn't take any ownership for my own happiness. And once I started to do that and use these techniques to rest inward, that's where I found that it started to reveal the real me. You know, and the real me was happy, was joyous, was, you know, free to live fully. The purpose of us making this documentary is to show people that peace is possible, and very much to show them that it's a personal choice. If peace is possible for the individual, then we want to show that it is possible for a group. And if that's possible, then it could be possible for countries, it could be possible for humanity as a whole.
There are two institutions in town. We started about 20 years ago with the idea of provide boys between the age 6, 7 to 21, 22 years old a possibility of becoming somebody in life, to provide them with a future. They have families, of course, all of them, or most of them, but in all cases, they have either a father in jail, they have a mother with prostitution problems, with addiction problems, you name it. And the idea is, instead of having these kids in the streets, to provide them with a home, a place for them to stay, a place where they can be safe, where they can attend a school, to give these kids a chance of being somebody in the future.
Una mamá es una persona en nuestra cultura que, además de darte la vida, te cuida, te protege, te guía, te ayuda y te conforta. Y nosotros hemos buscado que todas las personas que laboran en esta organización no sean solamente educadores, nos interesa muchísimo que se conviertan en referentes afectivos para los chicos, para que puedan de verdad tocarlos emocionalmente.
Thank you for the welcome that you gave us.
Así que muchas gracias por la bienvenida que nos dieron.
And the wonderful shirts. We
Y
love
por
them.
las camisetas que están bien padres, que les encantan.
So it's good we've got 3 tables because we have 3 balls. Can you find New Zealand?
The other side of the world. Since we start meditating with the kids, the violence has been reduced. They also have different ways to fix their problems. They are more in peace. We can feel it. So we have a different way to talk, a different way to play, a different way to do all the things we do here in every moment.
Bien, ¿quién me quiere decir cómo se siente? ¿Cómo te sientes?
Tranquilo.
Tranquilo. ¿Te gustan las palabras mágicas?
Sí.
¿Mucho o poquito?
Mucho.
Ah, qué lindo.
All the people who comes here tells me, here we can feel peace, we can feel happiness, and that's the most beautiful thing I have received from meditation. We want to give them all the opportunities to be empowered with love, with compassion. This will make a change in their lives. And that's the real power they will have. Because nobody can take it from them.
Sí me gustan las palabras mágicas que un día... Bien. Me siento relajado, así como en las nubes.
Sí. Me siento más relajado y me alegra de los problemas que tengo y me siento más como las nubes, como digo mi compañero.
Y como era antes, más rebelde, más relajoso y ahora estoy más tranquilo. No fue por eso. Y más guapo.
Había en ocasiones anteriores que era tanta su estrés, su desesperación, que optaban por irse por la puerta falsa. Ahora con las terapias que han recibido por parte de la señora Madaris, ya no son tan agresivos como era antes del curso. En relación a mis elementos, también ha habido una reacción muy positiva, porque es un trabajo donde siempre estamos bajo presión.
Pues ha cambiado mucho en mi expresión de llevar el autocontrol, meditar todo lo que vamos a hacer en tiempo y no llevar nada con coraje para las casas, todo dejarlo aquí, meditar todo eso para que no nos afecte.
Al respecto sobre las familias, opino de que pues sí, llegan estresadas. Nos enseñamos a convivir mejor con la gente, con las familias, ¿verdad? de los internos y sobre todo en la casa. Si estamos bien en casa, estamos bien en el trabajo.
Y después de esto, pues sí, o sea, yo sí he notado un cambio en mi casa, en mi familia también me lo han comentado. Oye, qué bueno, ¿no? Te tomaste tu Dalai por vino.
Es increíble que los compañeros, tanto operativos, quieran participar más y más en esta actividad. Es por el contagio de los mismos compañeros que ya recibieron ese beneficio, al igual que los internos que ya recibieron este beneficio se ven de una manera diferente, mejoran su entorno y debido a eso los demás compañeros internos quieren practicar esta técnica. No fue para mí muy difícil acceder a la autorización de mis superiores, toda vez que también coinciden con nosotros de que es mejor para los internos el que lleven este tipo de actividades. Sí, para nosotros es muy positivo porque nos permite mantener la prisión ciertamente con índices muy tranquilos y muy bajos de violencia.
Lo que vamos a hacer ahorita es ascender. Vamos a ascender.
Vivimos en un entorno un poco duro y con mucha presión, mucha disciplina y ahí es donde sientes la diferencia de estar relajado.
Pues he aprendido a valorarme a mí mismo, a querer más a mi familia, a estar tranquilo, en paz, mi interior, a no molestar a los demás, compañeros de celda.
Es un que nos manda Dios, es algo que nos manda Dios para que todos cambiemos y que nos manda. Espero que todos nos cambien las mentes en buenos y no en malos.
Gracias, señor. Gracias por participar.
Gracias, guapo.
Héctor Raúl Pedraza Guerra.
Gracias por participar.
Con un gusto.
Carlos Gerardo.
Lo interesante es que puede ser igual de sencillo para cualquier persona. No hay diferencia entre una persona que está presa o una persona que está aparentemente libre afuera. La verdadera libertad, la libertad interior está al alcance de cualquiera. Y es simplemente encontrar una técnica adecuada. Para mí, la más fácil, la más efectiva y la más rápida ha sido la ascensión de los ishayas. Yo he caminado a lo largo de diferentes técnicas de meditación y todas requerían de mí algo antes de alcanzar la paz. En esta experiencia, con respecto a la ascensión de los ishayas, no se requiere más que utilizar la técnica y entonces inmediatamente esta técnica nos lleva a contactar con la paz interior, con el bienestar interior, con la fuente del amor e inmediatamente se obtienen resultados. Entonces los muchachos que experimentan esto dentro de un cerezo tienen exactamente esta experiencia. Piensan su técnica, descansan en esta paz interior y se empieza a disolver el miedo, la angustia, el resentimiento, los celos, el odio, la violencia y empiezan a vivir en paz inmediatamente.
Tendremos a tomar la actitud y la mente de la persona. Ahora lo noto yo muy tranquilo. Me ha platicado todo del curso, también yo estoy aprendiendo y mejoras todo. Tu vida y tu comunión con los demás, tus relaciones, tu trabajo, todo. Es como algo que hace, como una piedrita que cae en el agua y va haciendo onda, ¿no? O sea, tiene un alcance largo.
Yo llevo durante 10 años recluido, estoy preso 10 años. En 10 años me he atendido con psicólogos, psiquiatras, criminólogos y nunca encontré una salida o una respuesta a mis propios problemas y tener una solución a mi vida. Entonces cuando mis padres se dieron cuenta que hubo un cambio en mi vida, me dijeron, ¿qué es lo que te pasa? ¿Qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué es esto? Les empecé a platicar el programa. Mira, me metí un programa de meditación, esto. De primero me llamaban loco, ¿va? Hoy se ríen y me felicitan, me dicen, mira este cambio. Antes Quizás hoy me ven cambiado y vestido y con gel. Antes no me cambiaba, no me daba gusto ni para verme a mí mismo, para vestirme, para bañarme. La vida no era X, porque yo pensé que cuando llegué a este lugar ya se había acabado mi vida. Pero cuando yo conocí el programa, empecé que mi vida empezaba a cambiar, empecé a ver que aquí no terminó mi vida, al contrario, aquí mi vida empieza a vivir. Me siento tan a gusto porque no tengo palabras para identificar a lo que yo siento por dentro, porque es como dijo alguien del dicho del pescado, si no estás bien de aquí, pues todo lo demás no sirve.
Estar en tu mente, adentro de tu conciencia, eres libre, no hay paredes, no hay presión, eres libre, estás en paz.
Aprendes a valorar a las personas, a uno mismo.
Y pues que vean que su vida va a cambiar en realidad, sus nuevos pensamientos, nueva persona, nuevo ser.
También para la maestra Madavi, que fue algo así como que, no sé, como un ángel del cielo, de cuenta que llegó, ¿verdad?
Chis, todos digan chis.
Sí.
Es más, dicen que diciendo coca sale mejor la foto. 1, 2, 3. ¡Coca!
It's been a really powerful and uplifting day for us. Got to meditate with 200 inmates. It's more people than I've ever meditated with. And the stillness and the peace in that facility was palpable as a consequence. The fascinating thing is that everyone on the planet wants exactly the same thing. We all want to experience unbroken peace, inner peace, contentment and happiness. Yet we seldom make it a priority. And I say to people who are not interested in learning to meditate, just spend more time doing what you love doing. Because the things we love doing reveal peace and contentment. All that's required is to make a choice.